Hello, and thanks for joining another Syvantis Fast class. My name is Travis, and I am a senior technical consultant here at Syvantis. Today, we're going to be talking about some of the features of Microsoft Copilot when it comes to the marketing app in CRM. You're probably at least vaguely familiar with Copilot as it's been cropping up in more places throughout the Dynamics 365 ecosystem, as well as some of the Microsoft 365 apps like Outlook. So Copilot is basically Microsoft's answer to AI assistants. It aims to alleviate some of the work in repeatable day-to-day processes within Microsoft's various business apps. In the marketing app, these features exist within the real-time journeys module, which is the new default experience when you're using that customer insights journey app. A lot of the features in Copilot within the marketing app aim to give users a kind of a better jumping off point when they're creating new emails, segments, and customer journeys. And so let's kind of start by looking at the features within the email designer. I have just a super basic email that I want to use Copilot to get some ideas on. I've got a general idea for what the intent of the email is. It's going to be, a May sale, but I'm not entirely sure what I want some of the text content to look like. I can open up this content ideas tab on the toolbox to start generating some ideas. So it's going to be asking me for 3 to 5 key points that I want to highlight throughout the email. And then up at the top, there is also this option to see some example points for different types of messages like events or promotions. And we can also change the desired tone of voice with this drop down. I'm going to keep it as engaged for now, as I think that is going to more align with the feel that I like in this particular circumstance. Then I can simply hit this Get Ideas button, and a list of a few different body texts will be generated. Uh, Once they're up, I'm going to just read through them and see if there are any particular that I like. And I noticed that a lot of them have this product name showing up here within there. And I actually want to have this be going for all products rather than a specific product. So I'm going to hit the back button up here and add in a fifth key point. It's going to be a sale on all products store-wide. And then I can regenerate my ideas. And once I've found one that I like, I can go ahead and either drag it and drop it onto the email like you would for any other element, or you could click the Add to My Draft button at the top. So as you can see in here, it's got a couple places where we can insert our company name. So we'll want to just go through and edit that and add in Syvantis and down here. There may be other references that kind of look like that with the curly braces, depending on what kind of key points you put in there, or things like dates for as an example. And as it is right now, this is just like a general text generation based on the default data model from Microsoft. However, you may have noticed back on our ideas pane that at the bottom, there's this leverage your organization's emails to generate ideas. We can basically do our own little mini training based on the previous emails that we've sent in our organization. Copilot would just need at least 20 previous emails, either in the ready to send or live states, to analyze and get a better feel for your organization's specific style. After enabling this and running the training, there will just be a checkbox that shows up in addition with the rest of these describe your ideas to base it on your previous emails. Whatever option you choose, just be sure to give the generated text a good read through and make edits as necessary. It's not really meant to be an independent copywriter for your emails, but rather an assistant to kind of help you out with that initial idea generation. You'll want to go back and do some edits to give it that more personal and human feel. There are a few other features for Copilot in emails that are still in preview, so I'm not going to go super in depth with them as they aren't quite in that final product state, but you can keep an eye out for them in the future. So we have the ability to recommend images to you when you are selecting something for your email, which would show up either here when you're replacing an image or in your replace an image option here. We also have this content refresh or rewrite feature. So when we click into a text box, we'll see this rewrite option at the top. This is going to allow us to get some input from Copilot and how we could rework the section or do some rewrites for it. We can say, for example, change the tone or get input on shortening or lengthening the section or just general tips on it. So for example, if we wanted to change it to be more of a casual tone, we'd be able to see the tips here and we could either insert it or look through the other options or refresh. And then the last preview feature that I think is a theme assistant. When we open up the theme editor on the tool pane, we have this option to insert a website URL to automatically generate some theme colors for the email. So you could put in your company's website, and then Copilot would do its best to grab colors from your website to use within your emails. I think that this has probably the most potential among these three preview features to be really cool, but I don't think it's at a point where I can really recommend it. It's still has some kinks to work out, but again, it's in preview, so keep an eye out in the future. And again, with that, the image recommendations, content rewrite, and theme assistant are all preview, so take them with a few extra grains of salt. Now, switching gears a bit, let's look at segment creation with Copilot. From my experience as a consultant, I would say that segments are probably one of the most common things that I get questions about, especially when the person is first starting up with the system. So I have here I created a new segment, and you may have seen this when you're setting up a segment in real-time journeys. We have this query assist. This feature basically just aims to similarly provide a little push to make it easier to get started with creating a segment. It works by allowing you to use a more natural language to generate at least part of the segment. So we could write something in like contacts that recently opened an email. And then after it thinks for a second, we'll see this result show up, and we can add it directly into the segment designer. All we would need to do here is add in our email. In addition to generating the pieces of the segment, we have this explain my segment section. When I'm going through and making segments, I usually like to take a step back and kind of put aside the intended goal of the segment and try to verbally describe what my segment is doing based solely on the filters currently within the designer. And I find that's very helpful in finding, pieces that seem out of place or just otherwise incorrect. And that's kind of essentially what this explain my segment section is for, is Copilot will just try to analyze the filters that you have in on your segment to give a summary and a slightly more natural description that might be easier for people to think about rather than all of these different and ors or but not statements. We also have this suggested improvement section, which is going to just help reduce redundancies or if there's any sort of conflicting filters, that kind of deal. If there's something that Copilot sees as an issue within your segment, it'll point it out here. We can also just use this describe to design it feature for each different block within the segment as well. We would just need to keep writing in each of the pieces within this or in making adjustments as necessary. So for example, contacts who aren't in Canada, and it would show up here and add it into the segment. Lastly, we can also create journeys using that similar query assist style natural language builder. You can see that when we create a new journey that it's going to prompt us with this Copilot screen. We could write in our own option or use one of the provided things such as an event registration and check-in reminder. When we select this, it starts working through this process, and sometimes it'll need some extra information, in this case, such as which trigger is going to be specifically used in this circumstance. So we'll be using this marketing event registration created. And then if we want to specify a specific event or leave it open for all events. And then proceeding through this creation process, we're going to get this written description of the journey. And it's going to show us what the journey is going to look like in terms of just written text if you visualize that way, as well as show a preview on the right-hand side. Then all we'll need to do is hit the create journey button and we'll see it now in our designer. So in this circumstance, there'd be a couple details we'd want to go back through, like add in the email within our email step and adjust the if-then branch as needed. When you're getting a bit more complex, excuse me, with journeys or segments, you're more likely to run into some issues. So you want to make sure that you're going to be doing some checking back through the content that gets generated for you. Overall, I think Copilot has potential to be a very helpful tool, maybe more so for smaller marketing teams with fewer resources to spend on day-to-day activities. Just with as with all AI generated content, I wouldn't consider it to be a full substitution of something created by a real person. So you just want to make sure you're going back, editing it, and adding that bit of personality that's more associated with your brand. Uh, but that is going to be covering everything that I had today. I thank you for joining us for another fast class, and be sure to stick around for a second to see next week's topic.